Okay, welcome to the Showcase podcast. I'm Aviv Farhi, and this show is about the engine underneath every company that survives, which is the sales engine. And how do you actually get someone to say yes? So I'm very honored and happy to introduce our first guest, Jonas Karles, which has done it more times than almost anyone I know. 19 times founder with a very long and impressive history, starting with breaking even on a smoothie stand in 7 days at 18, co-founding Minna Technology, which sold the subscription infrastructure to banks, and the company eventually acquired by MasterCard. And today he runs Devotion Venture Studio together with Gabriel Camiani and funded and in the portfolio of more than 20 companies. And with the pitch that I really love, get a B2B SaaS company to cash flow positive for $25,000. So super excited to have this conversation, and full transparency, the reason why I'm here and also Jonas is here is also that this relationship is also started with one of the Devotion Venture Studio company, which is Showcase, that Jonas was nice enough to let me found and run. And now he's also nice enough to be hosted as the first guest in our podcast. So
I'm honored. I'm
yes,
honored.
thanks for joining. Jumping right in, break even on a smoothie stand. But what was that? Tell us more about that.
I did this smoothie stand at the little town on the west coast of Sweden when I was 18, break even in like 7 days or something. I think the lesson from that is test a low price at the start in order to get fast feedback from real paying customers. That's a big takeaway. And then to increase people are in general very afraid of increasing the price. I do not think that you should be that. A low price is good in the beginning because you get data. If you compare that to freemium or like trials and so on, paying customers, nothing beats that, even if it's a low price.
But if we go one step or two steps back, like what made you start the smoothie stand? Was it like, okay, I'm curious about building like this type of interaction with people, or were you passionate about smoothies and wanted to say, okay, can I make money out of it? Like how did it start?
I think like if we take the tape back a bit, my first company was already at 16 years old, starting a water sports company, doing a lot of bachelor parties, etc. on the sea. I was testing out the market before I knew it was called testing out the market. I think the drive behind it was probably doing something out of nothing. And that has been the story of my life. And I didn't know the fancy words of entrepreneurship or startup or things like that, but it was just something I've done all my life. I think at the age of 4, I got some baby fishes in the aquarium and like, can I sell this? Like, can I do something out of nothing? So that's probably the drive behind it.
I love it. I think it's definitely kind of an itch that you grow with, and then it's how much do I develop it, and how do I test it, and how do I grow it? And so when you were selling the smoothies, when did you kind of realize, or did you identify, okay, what is kind of the difference between just being a good talker, or how do I convert it to the skill of sales? Like, tell us a bit about that.
I think there is this cliche of that the best sellers listen more than they talk, and there is absolutely truth in it. If we focus on the truth part of that, is that no one convinces nobody. Like, no, it doesn't happen. You need to convince yourself. That's how humans run, kind of. So understanding the buyer's problem and asking the right questions, that is how you close a deal, because simply not because you listen more than you talk or just that, is because that they are convincing themselves by talking, of course. If there are other ways that people can convince themselves, then I think that would work as well. So I firmly believe that it's very, very hard to convince someone. So going from like pitching the product to understanding the customer's pain, yeah, that's how you convince someone, because they are convincing themselves. Oh, there's a big pain here, and here's a solution. Great, I found it. I found the diamond that no one else found.
Okay, no, that's interesting. I think it's also a good segment to where I'm taking this in the next stop of your journey, which was the China and kind of B2B sales. And I think that from what I understand, it was maybe you can share more about that. But it's basically selling something that was new in the market that people didn't really understand around organic solar cells. But I guess connecting to their pain point that doesn't need to be explained with technology, but just focusing on that and then selling on top of that. Is that close to what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very close to what I'm saying.
So to kind of expand a bit on the B2B journey, I would say, again, talking about Epishine, and this was the beginning, right, of your B2B sales journey. Until
Yep.
then, it was, yeah. So what would you say are the things you got wrong to start with sales that you think, okay, this is like looking back, okay, this is where I completely messed up. I had no chance of making it work like that. But you think maybe it's very common for people to make those mistakes?
I think it's nothing that's really revolutionary. I think many people have heard it before. Too much focus on the technology, too little focus on the movement. And when I say movement, when it's a hardware product and it's very visionary and almost like a research project, then you need to sell the bright and shiny future that the buyer wants to be a part of. Find those believers, the persons, one person inside who actually wants this to work, and sell to them, not to the like committee, because they will not be convinced. They are rational. So that's probably one of them. And the other one is I underestimated how long not now, I will come back later can drag out. Like put the deal on fire instead as
Yeah.
soon as possible. Don't wait for people to think and make their decisions. They many times will end up with not making that decision, which is then a no.
Yeah.
So put the deal on fire is a good learning.
Well, so what do you mean put the deal on fire? Are you making offers that are kind of time dependent? Are you what works best, do you think, to make the deal on fire?
Yeah, time dependent is a good one. This and perhaps a bit more humble one is discount that is time bound. We have X amount of onboarding slots. I have reserved one for you. I cannot hold it for as long as possible. What do you need from me in order to say yes or no? Another way to put the deal on fire that have worked well in my career is to say, I'm sorry, but this takes too long. We will close this partnership. We feel that we don't have momentum. What happens? Yeah, of course, they come back. Okay. We will be faster. Promise. Okay. You got an email from me tomorrow. I just need to check with my manager. I was not stressed from the beginning. So I'm just happy that now it's something happening here. So dare to walk away, I think, is put the deal on fire.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's very hard to play hard to get or to kind of risk the deal in a way to say, okay, maybe it's not a good fit. All good. We're going to close it for now from our end. Say no to engage for a yes. But definitely it's more attractive than someone chasing you, following up and begging for you or time and money basically. So that's
I totally understand that people are feeling it like that. And I've quoted that myself so many times, like we're putting the deal at risk and so on. I think what experience gives you, meaning a lot of mistakes, is that there is no deal. There's nothing to worry about because there is nothing. There's no promises. It's just talk. It's just like people who want to be nice instead of saying no. And I think you learn this the best in the US. There's a hell yes or hell no. There's very seldom something in between. So I think that you don't need to be so worried about losing the deal if you understand that there is no deal. There has never been a deal.
We also we have a saying. We're saying that there's no half pregnancy, right? It's either you're pregnant or you're not, right? So it's like, is there a deal or is not a deal? If it's a question, probably there is no deal. And I think it gives you a lot of freedom to act in a way that generates deals from the maybes, which is a great takeaway. Okay, super interesting. So jumping to the next step of the journey, which is Minna, right? And maybe if you can expand more about kind of journey with Minna. But I would say one of the things that I assume on Minna, especially because we're kind of developing into enterprise sales and very long sales cycles, we're kind of, it's not really a no, it's a maybe. It's just, okay, this is how this is how fast we can go, right? when you're talking to an enterprise company, depending on the size of the deal, but sometimes it's just that's how fast the system can go. But at the same time, when you run a company, you need to have the cash flow to operate it and to scale it. So any kind of learnings on how to survive a startup while targeting companies that have very long sales cycles?
Yeah. So just give a bit of a context of Minna.
Mm,
I'm the co-founder and the CEO for 10 years at Minna Technologies. We are selling subscription management to retail banks. And basically, the banks were throwing themselves over us. They were extremely interested. We kind of built bank infrastructure, payments infrastructure that actually provided value to their end users, to the consumers. That have not been done for decades in the bank
mm,
industry. So they were extremely interested in Minna, meaning I would not say inbound because it's not really how it works, but everyone knew us, and as soon as we reached out, we got every meeting we wanted. But
mm,
that consumes a lot of cash because you are
mm,
now trapped in the innovation theater where there is no real money. There is like $2 million for innovation. They can throw it on whatever, and we were a perfect pony to throw that money on.
mm.
But you don't want that innovation budget. You want the real result budget. You want to be on the balance sheet. You
Yeah,
want like a clear budget owner who will have the mandate year after year, and that kills a startup.
yeah.
So I think you survive on cash, of course. Long sales cycles, they kill companies because you don't have runway for it. So you need to be very, very like tight on cash. And a lesson learned in the Minna Technologies case is compliance and procurement. They aren't really obstacles. They're actually part of the product. And as soon as you build them into the product and to what you actually deliver, what you sell, things are going faster, which is then
Mm,
also saving runway. Yeah. So that's some lessons learned. A champion within the bank is also extremely important. Like
yeah.
never touch a deal if you don't have a champion, because it goes like 10 times faster.
So basically, you're saying, okay, first of all, let's make the deal process easier, right? By taking care of compliance and procurement processes on our end, so we can cooperate very seamlessly and fast based on what they need. But also, you're saying, and I think that kind of hits close to home for me on the fact like know your expenses and keep it under budget. And I think that really relates to the whole devotion venture studio approach. And I think that's a big part of how everything works today, especially if we're talking about AI for a second and all the subscriptions and tokens that you might have, and kind of how something that's small can really expand fast. I think having a good understanding and control of expenses and allocating expenses to potential outcome to see, okay, does this make sense and how long can I survive with this type of expense model, or like what's our actual runway, gives a lot of at least control on the situation.
Yeah.
But
And probably one more thing, which is true in all enterprise sales, that you need to treat your customer, in my case, the banks, as a lazy teenager. Like they will
mm,
not do anything. They will not move out of their bed. If you want anything to happen, you need to do it for them,
mm,
including procurement, compliance, whatever. They have other things on their agenda. They have meetings and meetings and endless meetings. If you want something to happen, you need to coordinate those meetings. You
mm.
need to get your champion in front of the right people within the organization. That also saves sales cycle lengths, I would say. Okay, cool.
I would say treat everyone like a lazy 16-year-old, and maybe sometimes be surprised for the better. But I think that might be a good best practice to make sure that things are moving according to the pace that you want them to, or at least have a good foundation for that. But it is a good segment to talking about your current focus and where I step in now to the picture, which is a great addition, obviously, which is the Devotion Venture Studio aspect and the whole focus of building company with a bootstrap state of mind and pushing for profitability as fast and as efficient as possible. What drove you to kind of have that mindset and not, okay, let's raise money and play all that game, which is very common?
Yeah, great question. I think we need to rewind here a bit as well for the listeners. To start a devotion, me and Gabriel, we met at uni. In the first day we met, we spoke about let's do Rocket Internet together. So Rocket Internet is a European, German-based venture studio, one of the first in the world. They're basically copying or stealing ideas from the US and then doing it perfectly in European countries. Anyway, we were both quite interested in that model. We spoke about that the first day we met, but we said, how are we going to do that? Yeah, we probably need to do one great company each to have the trust from people. So let's do it. One extremely naive thought, but here we are 15, 20 years afterwards. I actually don't know. And we did. So I did Minna Technologies, Gabriel did another great company, and then we met up 10 years after university and said, hey, is it time? Should we do it now? Should we do Rocket Internet? And then we were in the beginning of AI. This was back in 2020. And we said, yeah, let's do it, but we do it in another way. We do not steal ideas from the US because that doesn't work anymore. We do not deploy 1 billion in each company, Swedish billions, so 100 mil. We do it in our way, which is fast. It's AI native and it's focusing on the cash flow only. Why is that so important? Yeah, because we are not betting so much on companies. Together, me and Gabriel, we invested in 25 companies, and we quite fast realized that it wasn't that fun to speculate about value. We wanted to create value, and we want to be confident in the value we create. So instead of having a mindset of it's okay that 19 out of 20 companies die because one will be the next lovable, we wanted a mindset of it's okay that 19 out of 20 companies live, and that is the reason for existence. So we said, what's needed for that? Yeah, we probably need to be the best in the Nordics in the phase of 0 to 1. What does that mean? It means that a lot of investors, accelerators, they know how to do something 1 to 10 or 10 to 100. There are great people out there. And me and Gabriel, to be honest, we have done that journey as well. We said early on, let's focus on the 0 to 1. Let's get as many people as we can to become entrepreneurs. That's good for Sweden, it's good for Europe, it's good for the world. And then becoming 0 to 1 or becoming the best on 0 to 1 and go to market, that is cash flow positive focus. And we don't have time, and we don't want to have focus on anything else than generating money from customers, not raising capital, not impressing someone else, not doing partnerships. It would never work anyways. Just get customers, paying customers, no freemium, no trials, etc. Yeah, so that's a bit on our take on Venture Studio today.
Okay, so thanks for all the clarity there. And so I would say now more than ever, building a product, I wouldn't say building a company, but having an idea and making it a reality is something that's extremely easy and straightforward. Or at least I would say building products is kind of a commodity now. And so what do you think, or what would you say is one of the most common mistakes that founders or product owners on the way to becoming founders do related to sales? What's a very common mistake you see early founders do?
First of all, it is to focus on the product instead of sales. It's very easy and it's comforting to build the product. Everyone can do it nowadays, and you get stuck in code 5 years ago. Now you're stuck in a auto code editor. It's the same thing. Like you see progress, you're happy, you see progress, you see bugs, you get frustrated, you want to solve just one more, and then you're stuck. So the most common mistake is not to sell. There are so many things you can find from a rational perspective, reasons for not selling, reasons for building instead, reasons for thinking instead. In the beginning, just do sales. Yeah. And then to be a bit more into the details as well, I think there are many people building in vacuum. They don't have any buyers in the loop. They don't have anyone in the loop. They are afraid of losing their idea. I don't value ideas. We have 197 ideas right now in our idea database. I'm considering to publish it online because I don't think ideas matter. Still, I got an email today with a potential founder who said, yeah, I have this idea. I will not be the operator. I will not put in any money, but I have this great idea. I'm willing to let you have 49% of the company. I was like, I don't know what
without paying money also.
I don't know what to answer. Like, so
Yeah.
you really believe that your idea, which was not unique in any way,
Mhm.
is worth 51%? Like, no. So that's one. And on that topic, if you're by yourself, it's very easy to fall in love with your own idea. And you build for 6 months and then you launch to silence. Yeah. So I think most failed startups, they don't die from bad ideas. They actually die from building in vacuum
Mm.
instead of selling
Mm.
in public.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like selling in public also. I think that makes the most sense. I think you get the most inputs. And I think it's challenging because the way everything is built today, you get so many dopamine hits and affirmation from building something that you think of, and then you see it as a reality, and then you say, oh, I see what I wanted, so it must be good. And you just get into this rabbit hole of dopamine hits of building. And you have no one to tell you on the other side, no one needs it except you, or no one would use it in that way. So I definitely think building in public and selling in public is kind of a combination that helps you identify that you're on a path that actually can has commercial value. And so let's talk now about the good things that you see, because you have very different companies, and all of Devotion Register Studio has a very big, wide range of companies. But what do you think is a common good attribute that works for all of them in selling and generating momentum?
I think all the companies, they have the same principles when it comes to selling and go to market. It's just
Mm.
different motions and different formats, which is validate the willingness to pay first, always, at all costs.
Mm.
And then how to do that is different. Lawster, our law firm, they sell differently than Runway, which is our capital broker. And then we have a Haysid, which is more of a traditional B2B sales. They all like have different motions, but they are focused on one thing: reach the 100 paying customers first and
Mm.
fast, and see if they tell others to do the same thing. Should they also become a Loster customer? Should they also use Runway when they are
Mm.
raising capital? Should they also
Mm.
use Haysid for individual targeted ads?
Yeah. So, okay, I love it. And so, talking about all the space and the AI. So, where do you think? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of noise from AI, a lot of value, but kind of a combination. It's kind of hard to draw the line. How much of it is noise? How much is applicable value that pushes us forward? What do you think is, or what have you seen with AI that makes kind of a good use case to growing sales velocity nowadays?
I think AI helps sales to strengthen and accelerating the already current motions and like the existing motions. So when it comes to doing good research, yeah, AI will help to do faster good research, but it will
Mm.
also help to do faster bad research if you're doing
Mm.
bad research. So it just speeds up everything. So personalization, if you're writing really good emails in your outbound campaigns and you have a method for that, applying AI to that will just do it faster and at scale. But if you are doing bad personalization today, then AI will also do bad
Mm.
personalization. In one way, it's just removing the grunt work of scaling what you already are doing. It doesn't really replace the human values of like understanding the buyer, understanding their needs, getting this almost love for another person because you understand their pains, their problems, and you actually want to solve them. AI doesn't help with that. It
Mm.
just accelerates everything. So I think AI will make a bad seller selling like even worse in a faster pace, as well as it probably the best analogy is like a calculator to a mathematician. Like if you don't know how to set up the number you're working on right now, the task that you're working on, the calculator will not help. It actually will just accelerate you into a very, very bad direction. And you feel progress, but it's absolutely not progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't make you ask the right question. It will just give you faster answers, faster results. And I think that's a big part of what I'm focusing on, is perhaps not only on building the mechanisms, but also building the validation mechanism of seeing, okay, is what we're doing working? And not only scaling the speed, but validating that it's generating the output that we want. Okay, but I know we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to try to give maybe kind of something to a potential founder that is listening, an early stage founder. And what do you think is kind of one thing about their sales this quarter that they should focus on? What should that thing be?
Thing is, send the invoice before your product is finished. How talk to 24, 25, 26 buyers this week. So like I think that's what we try to do is we try to send the invoice to 2 customers before we write any line of code. If they don't pay, we kill the idea.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, great. Start sending invoices. Dude, Jonas, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for the time and the insights. If anybody is looking to find him or learn more about the focus, check out the Devotion Ventures link in the show notes and all of that. This has been the first edition of the Showcase podcast. If you got one useful thing out of it, it's amazing. Super happy about it. And share it with others so we grow as a community of founders and people that are passionate about sales and generating and sharing value. And that's it. That's the pod.
Cool. And you were saying if you got one thing out of it, I would say everyone should start with buyers, not the idea. Like start with the people. The rest is details.
Thank you, Jonas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.